excellent afternoon to all our viewers. I must start by saying that where we are in the world today is something that I question. What has taken us, or will I say what has taken over human race, is also what I question. And what does human life mean to us is something that we'll all be discussing today. And we are going to be reflecting on our country, Nigeria, and even beyond as far as Russian, Ukraine, global tension are concerned as well. Again, I welcome you all. Of course, I remain the convener of this platform, and I'm with my real talkers. Let me put it like that. Lola, you've been on the streets of Lagos.
Yeah.
Doing what? How did this start?
Well, I joined a new radio station.
Yeah.
Law FM radio. So we've been doing road shows and everything, you know. So I've been busy, kind of. How are you, Peacock?
Good.
Welcome to the show. You know we always bring great conversations to you. Everything topical. Those are the kind of discussions we have on Real Talk with Kike. So we always thank you for joining us every week. Welcome again today.
Hello, Kike. Yeah. Hello, Lola.
Yeah, Auntie Effa.
It's good to see you over and over again, you know.
Yeah.
Seen you too many times today. Hello, viewer. Good afternoon. Welcome to our lunch program, Real Talk with Kike. Keep it real with us and let's keep this conversation going.
All right. Exactly 12 years ago, our former president, Musa Yar'Adua, was flown in after, will I say 93 days? His absence from the country was something that caused a lot of friction at the time. But let's hear more on this part of our Nigerian history on this day in history segment. Please stay with us. We'll be right back.
On this day in history, in 2010, exactly 12 years ago, President Umaru Musa Yar'Adua returned to Nigeria after staying in Saudi Arabia for 3 months due to health reasons. After a 93 days absence and being away from presidential duties, President Umaru Musa Yar'Adua returned to Nigeria, but his health conditions remained unclear as there was still a speculation that he returned on a life support machine. The country's political elites were consumed by a power struggle. Then Vice President Goodluck Jonathan had been reshuffling ministers, pledging to tackle power shortages and forging ahead with an amnesty for militants in the oil-rich Niger Delta. Yar'Adua died on the 5th of May at the Aso Rock Presidential Villa.
All right, on this day in history segment, let me come to you, Efo. I know that, what's your take on this day in history segment?
Well, it's a good thing that history recorded it, how that late president at some point, you know, in the history of our nation was ill, and all Nigerians knew he wasn't in health at the time. For those who loved him, they prayed for him to get back, but what accompanied was a drama all around it. It was shrouded in so much secrecy at that time, you know. Some people said he had already passed on in Saudi, you understand. And the nation was thrown in some sort of confusion because it was like everyone was jostling for power. But eventually, the man died, you know, and may he continue to rest on. What can we say?
Yes, you said it. At that time, one of the things that confused the nation was all the secrecy that was shrouded in it at that time. And for 93 days, he was actually out of office. And that was the time that Jonathan, you know, came to fore and a lot of people respected him. I think maybe it's even at that time that was very pivotal for him.
Yes.
And in stepping into the shoes of the late president when he eventually passed. But, you know, this thing seems to be like a trend that continues.
Yes.
Because even in our present administration, we still see a lot of things that we don't really understand going on. You know, it's still this secrecy. But I think that when it comes to the presidency, honestly, it's like we own that seat. The day you become the president of a nation, I think you lose your sense of privacy.
Yes.
Everything about you, the nation owns. You know, the presidency is a seat. So I really think we should improve a little bit when it comes to information dissemination so that people will just not peddle what they think they know.
Rumors,
we will be talking the truth.
You both are well spot on with your submission on this day in history. And I think that's what I actually take away most, especially when Goodluck Jonathan pops up in our history, is the fact that, you know, that smooth transitioning that took place, you know, when Buhari is coming. I just feel that it's such good
Yes.
leadership skills that we
Yes.
must, you know, continue
Imbibe.
to, you know, imbibe and all of that. But, you know, talking about all that transpired then, I just feel that, and with what you've just said right now regarding the culture of you understanding that once you are on that seat, you know, you've
You
lost your
belong to all
privacy.
of us.
You know, you're a public figure that
Yes.
must share every detail with the public.
True.
But if you look at the people who are also, you know, open to being on that seat, we've seen a lot of things that have been trending on social media. I don't want to mention anybody's name right now that I know they are not fit to be there, you know, and I feel that at least their media head can actually come out and actually give us a breakdown of their medical history, so that way we can be saving
stop all
ourselves
the
from those people who have doubts
speculations.
about their health and all of that. But, you know, Nigeria, anything goes.
It
It's
is
time
what
for a
it
quick
is.
message from our sponsors. Please stay with us. So on the show today, we have with a seasoned political activist and a renowned Nigerian lawyer. Guys, I'm so excited to have him on this platform today. Let me put that out there. But his views, would I say propositions on the Nigerian state are undoubtedly, would I say, towing a part of awakening for all of us in Nigeria. And several times he has called for review of the Nigerian constitution, and he has continued to decry the incorrectness, yes, in our system. Guys, our topic today is about salvaging the Nigerian state for lawlessness, and I prefer to use the word lawlessness because we are already, will I say, disorganized as a system, and we are close to, you know, anarchy. However, our concerns is still redirecting and calling the attention of our stakeholders to save the Nigerian system. Guys, let me save my breath now. It's important for us to, you know, unveil our guests. It's a popular face and a strong Nigerian, let's say Nigerian, you know, in terms of his advocacy. Hey, welcome to the show, Dele Farotimi. It's a pleasure to have you on the show today. How are you doing today?
I'm very well.
Excellent afternoon to you. So let's just go straight to the point, because you know, if you already connected to us, you realize that I decided to use the word lawlessness and cluelessness in describing the Nigerian state right now. However, our system, as you know, let's say, is tending towards anarchy, and because of all that is happening presently. But I would like you to please, you know, help us when it comes to how will I put this now, when it comes to how we got here, especially when it comes to the aim of affairs in our country.
Well, even though we like to pretend like we all don't know, the reality is that the moment our country became unmoored from law, the moment the law stopped being the basis of our relationships, the moment it became that the more powerful the man, the more rights he has in our environment, it was always a self-fulfilling prophecy that will get to where we are. If the law rules, men know exactly what to expect as consequences for their actions and inactions. But in situations where the law does not rule, or it is the will of individual men of power that rules, you get exactly what you find in the Nigerian states, where as a function of the fact that our country is not governed by law, it has become a space governed by impunity. Anything happens in Nigeria. When I was young, we used to say, oh, the Charlie Boy show, where anything can happen. That was the refrain. But the reality is that today is, when you say Nigeria, what should follow is where anything can happen. So it is nothing surprising. It's a consequence of the choices that we have made. When we as a people stopped being governed by law, but by the will of military men who took over power in Nigeria since 1966, what you have is that Nigeria has been made in the lawless image of those who took over the running and designing and structuring of the Nigerian space. So it's a function of the choices that those who have ruled Nigeria have made. We're where we are by design.
All right, thank you very much, Mr. Dele Farotimi, for joining us on the show today. Now that we know that some of these people that we're still calling leaders they are the ones that have been at the helm of affairs for a long time to come. I know that some of them have been ruling us since the maybe 70s, 80s, and they are still the ones that are in question now. What can the youth do at this time? Because even the presidency that is coming to us in 2023, we're still seeing that we're still fielding these same sets of people. Is there any hope for the youth to take over anytime soon?
I think there's this American, I think his name is something Buckminster Fuller or something along those lines. The guy says that if you want to change an undesirable reality, the only thing you can do is to change the reality instead of speaking. If you are not for something, what are you for? I think that's the easiest way to flip this. We have complained for too long about these people who have become recurrent decimals in the bad story that Nigeria is. And it's very easy to mention them. Once you mention anyone considered a Nigerian statesman, what you find behind the name is a principality destroying a people. But it is not sufficient to simply continue to bellyache about them. We have to move beyond bellyaching, and we have to find a way to change the system. If we are going to change the system, it will be because we reimagined the game, because it's all a game. They see us as spoils of war. That is why some people can be speaking to the owners of Nigeria. But if they are owners of Nigeria, it then suggests that the Nigerians themselves are owned as cartels. So if these people who are owned as cartels find the grace to articulate what it is that they would like to see different in their condition, how they want to see their country move from the nauseating dystopian reality of its current existence to a better future, you cannot possibly wait for these recurrent bad decimals to be the ones that will tell you what the next step should be. It is not in the interest of any one of the several persons who have known Nigeria as rulers of Nigeria and let us know where, because they are so blind they can't even have any destinations in mind. It is stupid to continue waiting for them to show us the way forward. Those of us, whether you are a youth, whether you are an older person, I don't even consider myself a youth any longer. My next birthday, I'll be 54. I don't qualify to be called a youth. So if I'm not a youth and I am still incapable of articulating what it is that I want to see different about the country of my birth, and I cannot galvanize the people behind it, I have no right to continue to blame those who have profited by extending their powers and ensuring that they always retain power by which they are fed fat, even as the people have grown lean. So it's up to the oppressed to find the common purposes behind which to unite themselves and to then demand the changes that they commonly desire. If not, nothing will change.
Thank you so much for joining us again. I've had the opportunity to listen to you a few times, and I see this, how do I put it now? I see this passion, your passion for a new Nigeria, that is a Nigeria that works for the generality of Nigerians. And the question on my mind always is, what is the way forward? What can we do? How can we begin to enlighten this mass of the people? How can we talk to them? How can we reach them?
Sometime a couple of years ago, I was invited to a function by Amnesty International. And I noticed that after I was done speaking all the French that I was speaking, people were still waiting for me to say more. They were not satisfied with my diagnosis of the problem. They were waiting to be told the solution. And you have more or less done the same thing. What is the solution? Unfortunately, I don't have an easy prognosis for anybody. I have no easy solution to the problem. It's not going to be easy, but there is actually a solution. The solution is to do what had never been tried before. In Nigeria, we've talked for too long about the reasons why we are fractious, why we are divided, why things are not working. we've also always had glimpses on ideas as to what could be better and what we could do differently. I sincerely believe that if we are to come out of the mess we are in, we're going to have to articulate those common purposes and then dare to look beyond the religious and the ethnic, or shall I say tribal differences. Nigerians are sufficiently united by the commonalities of their afflictions. I'm a Nigerian. I have no other identity as of today. And the one thing I know is that the problem of insecurity that is afflicting the persons in Okiogun, the person in Umuahia, the person in the Andoni parts of Nigeria afflicts the people in the president's home state. But it manifests in different ways. Our problems of hunger, of insecurity, of corruption, of impunity, of wanton evil and systemic evil is common to all. These problems are common to all Nigerians. But because we don't pay attention to them, we are divided by the many things that our ruiners have promoted in order to ensure that we do not speak to ourselves across the religious and tribal divides. If we would dare to speak across those divides, you will find very quickly that the Fulani man in Kankara, yes, Kankara, you heard me right, that is not Yoruba land, where they are carrying their children. The people in Niger State, they are people we will likely refer to as northerners, but they are as afflicted as those who are in the southern part of Nigeria and everywhere else. So there are commonalities that we should exploit to find common grounds by which to make common demands and find common purpose. But as I have said, until we find the grace to recognize the commonalities of our afflictions, our problems are not going anywhere anytime soon. You say I'm passionate about Nigeria. What choice do I have? Everything I own, my substance, my children, my business, my life, everything is tied to the country of my birth. And I am not interested in living in exile or as a refugee or anything. In Nigeria, I'm fighting to have my citizenship recognized. What mouth would I have if I went outside Nigeria to either Western Europe or America, and then I'm fighting to be recognized and have my humanity recognized? And I cannot even have my humanity recognized in the land of my own birth. So it's easier for me to fight in Nigeria, be passionate about my humanity and those of other people, and work to ensure that in this space where nobody can question the legitimacy of my claim to humanity, I fight that fight until the day I drop dead. But there is no way out of it until we find the commonalities and work together as a people.
Many thanks for that submission, and I think my takeaway from that is the commonality of our afflictions. You know, you've argued that the constitutional review and the restructuring are the ways of reviving and reforming our systems, and many others have also shared in that same view. But President Muhammadu Buhari's tenure is almost gone. When and how do we start our constitutional review? And will I say restructuring, or should that be the first agenda of whoever that is coming to federal power in 2023?
You see, the unfortunate thing about the Nigerian, including myself, is that we have this unbelievable belief in the capacity of the oppressor to liberate the oppressed. Why would the National Assembly, a beneficiary of the fraud that is called the 1999 Constitution, or General Buhari, a most wicked beneficiary of the same system, why should they bother to restructure Nigeria in the manner that is desired by the ordinary Nigerian who has been denied the rights of citizenship? The constitution of a country should flow from the will of the people in that country. That is not the case with Nigeria. General Abdulsalami and his coterie of military bandits sat down together and wrote the 24, and that is what we are calling the 1999 Constitution. So when you are now trying to amend a fraud, it becomes impossible to amend a fraud to undermine the basis of your own existence. How can Femi Gbajabiamila or Lawan or even Buhari or any one of our state governors, why would anybody imagine that they are interested in the same kind of restructuring that we are interested in? So let me answer you. I do not look to the beneficiaries of the crime called Nigeria, because that is what it is when you look at Decree 24. I don't expect that the beneficiaries of that crime will hand over the proceeds of their crime without the victims demanding it and taking it if they have to take it. We are getting to the point where it is becoming inescapable, but to conclude that the Nigerian ruining class is actually, they are not interested in restructuring Nigeria or allowing Nigerians to become unfettered so that we might develop as we desire. But if it's going to happen, it will not be because these people decreed it. It will be because the Nigerians came to themselves. Remember that story about the prodigal son? The Bible records that he came to himself. Coming to yourself means that you come to the consciousness of the fact of your slavery. When the Nigerian comes to the fact and the consciousness of their slavery, then they will be able to demand and to take the kind of changes required. If the National Assembly, as it is currently constituted, is to offer any kind of restructuring, it would only be the sort of restructuring that makes it easier for them to continue to steal and to entrench themselves in power. Nobody who is not a member of the reigning class should expect anything better. I don't.
Thanks for that submission, but I must politically ask you this, because I feel, politically speaking, Nigerians are already in the game of picking another set of leaders, party or no party. We still have virtually the same set of people campaigning again. Can we actually get something revolutionary, you know, with this set of people that are actually campaigning again to be our next president? What's your take on this?
Anyone who is expecting anyone in the current race, anybody, any one of the people who have declared their intention, if you are expecting anything different than the evil that has been delivered consistently for almost 23 years, then the person is deluded. The reality is that the system is designed to do what it is doing. The persons who have offered to come and operate the evil franchise called Nigeria are not doing so promising to end the franchise. Anybody who is interested in ending the evil that we are currently experiencing and living through must come with a clear plan and an agenda for restructuring. None of the persons who are currently in the race have gone beyond talking about it. They've talked, but nobody has offered a plan, because they are not looking to gain power through the people. They are looking to be given power by the owners of Nigeria. Anyone who is truly desirous of changing Nigeria has to place his restructure plan, the change that he envisions, he has to place it on the ballot so that the Nigerian who is voting for him understands from day one what they are getting. It is the disenchantment with the system, the belief that nothing will change, that has led to the disconnect. That is why you have dwindling voters figure, because the people have learned not to believe that anything will change as a result of their vote. So I have been going around telling people register to vote, but I am doing so with a deliberate intention and a plan in mind. And what's the plan? In the coming days, we will put together a clear platform. These are the changes that we desire and expect to see if anything will change. So anybody who is expecting to have our support in any way, who expects us to come out and campaign for them, must be prepared to adopt those programs. And what are those programs? It's clear. One, where is your plan for restructuring Nigeria? What is the timeline for that restructure? What are the social programs? Would the poor have access to quality education? Would there be a clear intention to enforce the laws and walk away from our systems of impunity? People sit down and they are busy pointing fingers at Kyari. I'm sure you've seen the video going around showing the custom people bundling a lawyer into the cell simply for doing his job. Kyari is not alone. The system of governance in Nigeria is dependent on the multitude of kyaris who wears uniform and enforces the powers of the Nigerian state, which are not anchored to law. So anybody who wants to change Nigeria, for them to be taken serious by anyone, they must have a clear understanding of where they want to take us. They must share that clear understanding of where they want to take us. They must also share how they plan to get there. What's the roadmap? So it's not enough to talking about how Nigeria needs restructuring. We all know, everybody, even the evil people who designed the current structure have acknowledged the need for restructuring. But what is the content of the restructuring they are speaking to, if it's not to be just mere political slogan? The current occupant of the office talked about restructuring as well. But where has that led us? Today they are saying that they don't understand the meaning of restructuring. So I believe that we, as a people, must be clear-headed about exactly what it is that we are seeking, and then have sufficient bravery to pursue it.
Thank you very much for your submission so far. Very enlightening. I just want to ask, because I've been listening to you talk a lot of times, and you talk about, you know, this future that we can truly get. And I'm beginning to like get this messianic syndrome or feeling to it, that we are looking for a Messiah that would actually take us out of the quagmire that we are in as a people. But I want to ask, how should politicians be bred? Because it starts from this very point for us. Are politicians, are we supposed to begin to make career politicians, people that are specially reared in the art of politicking? Because if we do not begin to do that, godfatherism will still thrive. Because they are, in their own sense, they are helping us to nurture who they think are good enough for us. And that means if we're taking from a godfather, we're still eating from their table. That means it's only what they think is good for us that we're taking. So how should we be raising the next generation of politicians?
All right, glad to know you are still with us. In case you just joined the show, today's conversation is about salvaging the Nigerian system from the anarchy. And our guest, Dele Farotimi, is a seasoned political activist and a reformer whose reviews tends towards reawakening Nigeria. And I must say many thanks thus far, Mr. Dele Farotimi, for all you've shared. Before I allow you answer Lolo's question, it's important for me to quickly open our phone lines. Please remember that you can be part of this conversation by calling the studio numbers 080-988-77400 showing on your screen right now. And we are streaming live on YouTube page, on Silverbird platform, Real Talk with Kike, and of course on Facebook page as well. So, sir, please go ahead on a question regarding Messiah and godfatherism.
Well, we need to understand something very quickly. Nigeria is not going to be saved by any Voltron or by any Messiah. It will be up to Nigerians to save Nigeria, and it will be up to them to save themselves. Americans aren't coming to save us. If you look, they're currently bombing Ukraine. Russia is doing the bombing, and America isn't turning anywhere near them. How much more? They are used to us doing to ourselves exactly what we're currently doing. So it will be entirely up to us to save ourselves. Having said that, it is also critical that we understand the place of thought leaders. If we are going to come out of the mess we are in, it will be because we are able to imagine our way out of this mess. So whilst we will not necessarily be requiring messiahs, we will definitely be needing those who can think outside the norm and think outside the box, because the system is already designed to gain conformity from the people and to ensure that they behave exactly as they have been intended to behave, which would be, okay, embrace violence when you are unhappy with the fact that you are oppressed, which is normal. So people embrace violence instead of embracing ideas, or they embrace ideas, and when the ideas are frustrated, they embrace violence. We need to get to the point where, as a people, we move away from the instinctive embrace of violence in the face of the intransigence of the system and the rulers. we now need to begin to speak to ourselves, to the commonalities of our afflictions, as I have said before. It is when you have come to the knowledge of the commonalities of affliction that you can speak to the common purposes that we can unite behind. So whilst we might not, and we definitely do not require Voltrons and Messiahs.
Mr. Farotimi, I have to interrupt your line of thought right now. We have a caller from Lagos. Kiton, please go straight to the point. What's your perspective on the topic at hand?
Yes, good afternoon.
Excellent afternoon. Hear you.
Hello, Kiton, we can hear you.
It's interesting listening to Barrister Farotimi, if I got his name right. I just wanted to say, ask him that it's important that, yes, we try and find a leader that can find the commonality between the Nigeria that is left out from the Nigeria that is currently ruling us. But it's a bit complex because Nigeria is such a big nation, and we have so many different people in Nigeria. So who is the leader that can cut across and engage with the people?
For your contribution. Mr. Farotimi, over to you.
Well, what I can say is this. Situations have a way of throwing up the leaders in the moment. But if you are going to be leading, you need to first of all have a destination towards which you intend to lead the people. And if you are going to be able to lead the people, it will be because the people are bought into the vision that you have shared with them. Nigeria is a multi-ethnic, everything about Nigeria is fractious. I'm not suggesting that it's going to be a walk in the park, but as difficult as it is, we need to find the commonalities that enables us to act in concert and with common purposes. For as long as we continue to divide ourselves, all that would happen is that we make it easier for those who have profited by our afflictions to continue entrenching themselves in power. If we continue to divide ourselves instead of coming together to understand that these people are not divided by race. The ruins of Nigeria are neither Yoruba, Igbo, Hausa, Fulani, or Ijo, they are one. So if you are talking about the oppression of the Fulanis, for instance, as people love to speak to, then you also have to remember that all the governors and politicians from the southern part of Nigeria are not Fulanis, but they are united because of the commonalities of their own purposes. So it is up to we, the victims, to come to the understanding that those who are benefiting are not located within a tribe. It's a pan-Nigerian agenda. It's not a tribe. It's not just a religion. They even intermarry amongst themselves. They don't care for tribes. It is the poor and the wretched, the victims, who are always speaking to tribes and religion. And that's why they are waiting for a Messiah.
Many thanks for that, Mr. Farotimi. We have another caller, Timothy from Jos. Timothy, please go straight to the point. You have 30 seconds. All right, we lost that. You know, I must say, Mr. Farotimi, we cannot help but, you know, I appreciate your submission thus far. But I want to drift a little bit from what we've been asking, and it's about do not die in their war. Your book is referring to Nigerians, and it is more like saying Nigerians should not take the sacrifice to do what will make Nigerian system change for good. My opinion, I stand to be corrected. Whereas someone like you is still fighting with your voice and pen without charging a kobo, because I remember one of the platforms that you featured in, and you said that you never, you know, collected a dime on your book. Can you please expatiate for us, please?
Well, number one, I will correct you. You misunderstood the book completely. What I was saying in Do Not Die in Their War is that if you deconstruct the title itself, their war is their war. Anything that anyone you see following APC or PDP or any one of the poo and the many stealing platforms is merely fighting the war of his oppressor. He is busy fighting in a slave army. because it's not about the people at any point. They'll be having elections, but the people are the last person in consideration of the gladiators. So anyone who is, okay, for instance, let's take an example. If you fought for Yamu in 2016 against the current governor of Edo State, what's that one's name now? I forget his name. If you fought on one side,
No, it's not.
you'll find very quickly that the sides were changed less than 4 years down the line. So it's their war. The people do not matter in that equation. What I was saying is wake up to the fact that you are a victim and you are not a beneficiary. So stop fighting wars that are none of your business. So I'm not saying don't fight to change Nigeria. I'm saying don't fight in stupid wars. Don't go and die on behalf of politicians.
All right.
Thank you very much,
Many
sir.
thanks.
Many thanks for that submission. We all had to laugh at that. It's very instructive that you said we're the victims and we're also slaves in our own land. That's very unfortunate. I'd like to take you back to your own turf. What do we do about the judicial system of this country? Because I believe they're the bane of the issues that we have in the country.
What you are doing is that you are doing the typical Nigerian thing. This is what I call selective outrage. You want to talk about the judiciary. Are you done talking about the custom, the police, the army? Which part of Nigeria is not deserving of close scrutiny and systemic overhaul? Nigeria is like a giant toilet, and then everybody is hunched over their crap, and you're complaining about the fat from the next man's exertions. It is beyond the judiciary, even though the judiciary was the first to get lost before Nigeria got lost. Our reality is that we're a country that is not governed by law. That means that the first line that was lost was the judiciary. There is nothing about the Nigerian judiciary that is different from the Nigerian custom or the Nigerian police or the Nigerian legislature or the Nigerian clergy. It's all the same. Angels don't exist in any of our sectors. We are all Nigerians and we are anything but angels. But if we are serious about turning Nigeria around at any point in time, if you remember, I said after finding common purposes, the first thing that has to be institutionalized is the rule of law. You cannot do that without doing a branch and root review of our judicial system. The judicial system in Nigeria today administers only impunity and injustice. There is no justice to be found in our courts.
Thanks for that. I think this might be the last question on this platform. I want you to please give a word or two for the Nigerian masses. You know, we have been discussing from the top. You are one of the few who likes reorientating the masses. You know, from your own viewpoint, what change or transformation do you think that we need right now to go on when it comes to you know, appointing the next president, and how do you want to reorientate the minds of the Nigerians in 1 minute, sir?
Well, frankly speaking, I think it's unfair to the masses of Nigerians to talk to them. I think the people who really need to be addressed is the Nigerian middle class. The Nigerian middle class is unbelievably myopic in its incapacity to identify what is in its own common interest. It is only when that class wakes up, because in every country in the world, the middle class drives the agenda. Developmental agenda must be driven by the middle class, which is still aspirational, able to dream of a better tomorrow. So the mass of the Nigerian people, the poor horde of Nigerians, are the ones who have been badly served by the Nigerian middle class, which is completely existential in its outlook. So if I have anything to say to anybody, it is to that middle class: wake up, wake up. The night is coming, wake up. So it's that middle class that need to be talked to, not the poor. They are the victims.
All right, many thanks
so much
for for your submission. Thus, I must say thank you for coming on the show. It's been an interesting time with you. But before we let you go, there's what we call trending stories that affect us all as Nigerians, that bind us as family. And the first trending story that caught our attention is that of Aisha Buhari, who attends plenary, at the National Assembly. Before I come to you, Mr. Farotimi, Efo, let me come to you for what's your take on this story?
My initial reaction when I saw the story, I said to me, for what purpose? What use? The First Lady attending plenary. But when I now listened in and she actually went to fight for us women folk, to get more seats. I said, that's commendable. It's a good start. We can get started from somewhere. But she can do a lot more than that.
Oh, really? Yes. As far as I'm concerned, I just feel that the First Lady's visit was to show support for a bill to have more women, female senators at the federal and state legislature. Sure. And I believe that it will help in national building as such significant participation by women that will be of added value to not only to the legislation, but also to much desired and needed national development in our country. However, now that our women, especially in Nigeria, the First Lady is supporting us and giving us a moral booster, I consider it a moral booster if you ask me. And we shouldn't be afraid to, in stepping out, as in stepping out boldly and completely, will I say, compete for political offices. The highest record of female participation of, will I say, parliamentary, parliamentarians have never been beyond 7. And we should start seeing female vice presidents in this aspiration, parading themselves. I just feel that we are just taking the, let's break the bow by the horn, because our coming out, as far as I'm concerned, is just another way of saying that, what, I'm with you guys, we are in it together, and a way of having an inclusion of what we've been clamoring for on this platform all along. I know that quite a number of people do not, believe in her physically being there. Some people were even throwing her and all of that. But can we be objective on why she was there? Lolo, what's your take on this?
It's fun for me because this might actually be a Hillary Clinton situation. Who knows whether Madam Aisha is going to, declare for a public position in no time soon. So for this, I'm just watching to see how things play out, because it's high time that women begin to take the prominence that we deserve. And because a lot of talk has been going forward on this particular thing, I actually know without a doubt that the next political dispensation, a lot of women will be seen.
All right, many thanks for that. Mr. Farotimi, what's your take on this quickly?
It's just another photo op. There is nothing to it. Nothing will change as a function of Aisha's decision to go and visit the plenary session of the National Assembly. Her husband has been sat in the presidency for the last 7 years or thereabout. He hasn't changed anything about the lot of the Nigerian women. So yeah, she can have a photo op, have her pictures taken. Beautiful woman, by the way. Hopefully the Congress, I will not bother to have the remaining, would find the grace to remember that women constitute more than 50% of this country. But I'm not holding my breath. I don't expect anything to change, but I'm happy that she had a photo up. That's all it is. Nothing of substance.
So all right. All right. The second trending story that caught our attention is that of the Russian that launches full invasion of Ukraine. Lolo, let me come to you first. What's your take on this?
I won't lie to you. I'm so scared. I don't know what Putin is thinking at this particular moment, because war is devastating. The world is just recovering from post-COVID. The economic devastation across the nations of the world is still very tangible. And now going to war with Ukraine. And of course, I can see them even taunting other nations that put hand. They will spread this and make this a catastrophe. I don't know how this is going to play out, because they're already bombing Ukraine. What are we going to... Are we at the beginning of Third World War?
Yeah, that's a good question. You know, when I saw this, you know, what came to mind, when do we want to leave blood and tears? Because nothing comes out of war other than destruction and loss of lives. You know, at this age and time, how can a country engage in full-blown oppression and terrorism? Because that's the only thing, that's the only way I see this. I see it as oppression because Russia is stronger in war than Ukraine, if you ask me. However, we can continue to blame President Putin, you know, on the invasion of what's it called? What will I say? What the world is doing right now? But Russia has been backing a bloody armed rebellion in eastern Ukraine, you know, and we've seen all of that. And I'm asking myself, you know, over 14,000 people, you know, and including many civilians, have died in fighting since God knows when. Now, in response, we've seen EU, we've seen UN, we've seen US, we've seen UK, and they began to, you know, imposing sanction on Russia. And for me, this sanction, if you ask me, are not too light. You know, Germany's VC says that they are, you know, halting their gas deal with Russia as well. UK is freezing account of over 3 Russian oil and gas or something. And I mean, how do you want to, you know, stiffer actions that should have been taken long ago? And if Putin doesn't seem to be open for dialogue, hence the reason why there's a bigger what's it called, issue that is being placed right now in their country or in this country. So now coming back to our home front, I just feel that at the home front, you know, NIDCOM boss, which is Senator Abba Kyari, who have also been on this platform many times, I feel that, you know, she called for Nigerians in Ukraine to keep calm, while the American president has asked their own citizens to leave Ukraine, you know, since last week. And I think that the Diaspora Commission, if you ask me, need to look further on this concerns where Nigerians live in Ukraine. And I saw some videos online where people were running for their lives with their boxes. They need to actively synergize with the Nigerian embassy in Ukraine on the number of Nigerians that are living there and how they are going to be safe. Because if our home front was actually in a good place, if there are basic amenities, I'm sure many of the people that are in Ukraine right now will not be there. And not until the war gets heated and casualties are being counted, we should not start what we should have done before. That's why exactly. So every life is costly. We only see the beginning of war, as far as I'm concerned. No one knows the end of war. And quickly, Mr. Farotimi, what's your take on this?
You see, there is something critical you mentioned in passing. Probably you didn't even pay attention. You said the Americans have asked their citizens to leave Ukraine. The difference between the Americans and the Nigerian is that the Americans are citizens. The Nigerian is not. Abba Kyari can sit down in the comfort of Abuja or wherever she is, and so would the Minister for Foreign Affairs and the several people who are meant to be responsible. But I assure you that any sane Nigerian who is in Ukraine will be making his way out somehow right now. But having said that, let's be clear. The Americans, the Russians and the Ukraine, their wars is the fight next door. Our home is burning. We are already at war in our own country. Frankly speaking, I feel sorry for the unfortunate victims of the new war that they are starting in Ukraine. But as the person who is living in Niger State, who cannot go to his farm, or the man who is in Kankara, whose children are still with the kidnappers, or the ones who are in Benue, who are being slaughtered in their homes, as the one in Okeogun, the people traveling on Lagos-Ibadan Expressway who are being kidnapped on a daily basis, if Nigeria is not already at war, and they will give you a pretty good idea of exactly the extent of conflict that has engulfed Nigeria. So I wish the Ukrainians good luck in their own conflict, but we have sufficient problems of our own. If you ask me, I can't be bothered to worry about the Ukrainians. I have sufficient worries of our own in our country to face. Any Nigerian who is currently in Ukraine, the bulk of them are probably people looking to go to school. They are students who went to school. It's the failure of Nigeria that drove them to Ukraine in the first place. So we have sufficient problems of our own, and anybody who is waiting for Abba Kyari or any one of the people responsible, who are meant to be responsible for Nigerians but are completely irresponsible, the person is waiting for Godot. The person who died in Cote d'Ivoire recently is blowing testimony to the capacities of the Nigerian state to inflict pain on the Nigerian, wherever the Nigerian might be. So my only take on that is, if you are in Ukraine, you are a Nigerian, don't wait for the Nigerian government. Find your way out. Sharpish.
For that, if you're in Ukraine, you heard it from our guest, you better help yourself. With that, we've come to the end of another edition of Real Talk with Kike, and indeed we had an awesome show on today's edition of Real Talk with Kike, courtesy our resourceful guest, Mr. Dele Farotimi. Many thanks again for honoring my invite, and please enjoy the rest of your day. And to my co-host, I say thanks for keeping it real.
You're welcome, Kike.
Around that note, we say bye for now. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Bye.
Bye.